Welcome to the Jaron Jarvis channel. I am Jaron Jarvis. Today, I would like to introduce to you, the Cold Song. All my life I wanted to write about me, about fantastic stories I had in my mind, or maybe significant diaries that would be discovered in posterity and claimed as treasure. I had so much in mind. I always thought time wasn't enough to accomplish everything I wanted to do, and in the end, I did nothing, I accomplished nothing. I'm no one who would imagine my most important memory would be written in a piece of torn, crumpled paper I found in one of my pockets when looking for a cigarette while sitting on the bench of a poor dirty cafeteria late night. Life has its tricks, that I'm sure of. Enough chit-chatting. I'm here to tell you my story. It all began 1 month ago. I was coming back home late after a party. I'm not the kind of popular person who is invited to parties often. My only friends are 2 cats and 2 dogs. I wish someone would look after them once I am gone. Oh, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time playing on Steam. You know, killing zombies, digging holes, dating virtual girls. I sorta gave up on having a social life, a wife, a family a couple of months ago. So why am I so afraid to leave? I guess you never really give up entirely. There is always this small flame burning somewhere deep inside the heart that keeps hope alive, that keeps you going. Anyway, here I am rambling again. Like I had time to waste. So I was walking on the street on a dark cold night when I saw a body. Yes, lying on the asphalt there was a body, and next to him there was a man mopping the floor. I know a normal person's first reaction would be running away and calling for the police, but I was a little tipsy due to a couple of beers I had at the party. I always feel brave when drunk and the worst, talkative. As I approached the person holding the mop, I saw it was a man in his 50s, wearing a hat and humming a song. A song I've never heard before, until... well, I kept staring for a couple of minutes until he noticed me. And nodding with his head a little, he said howdy, gave a little smile and went back to mopping that black sticky liquid coming out of the body. I also noticed he had a wheelbarrow and a bucket with him. He would rub the mop on the floor and thrust it into the bucket half filled with that black stuff that I figured was blood. Shouldn't we call the cops? I asked, a little anxious. Cause what if he was the one who did that? He then lifted his head slowly, pushed the hat back with the point of his finger, dried the sweat off his forehead with his shirt sleeve, rested both of his arms on the mop handle, crossed arms like he was recovering from his tiresome task, and said, "Nah, they will come eventually." I assumed that was confirmation that he had already called them. So, what happened to him? He took a deep breath, looked into his pocket for something, grabbed some cigarettes and kept looking for what I suppose was a lighter. "Do you need fire?" I asked. "Oh no boy, I have plenty." He laughed. "You smoke?" I took the cigarette he offered me from his hands with a grateful heart. The ending he held was somehow lit, even there was no lighter or light to be seen, but I didn't make anything of it back then. There was possibly a corpse only few inches away from me. I wasn't really paying attention to details. "You should quit smoking. It's bad for you," the man said, and exhaled a big cloud of smoke. A truck came from that direction. The man pointed at one side of the street. He was drunk, had no chance to escape. "Now I have to clean the mess. So if you excuse me," he said, making a gesture with his hands for me to move out of his way. I took a step backwards and watched in disbelief when he, humming that same song again, lifted the body and placed it inside the wheelbarrow, on it the bucket, and lying down its right side the mop. He proceeded to move away. "Wait," I protested a little louder than planned. "You can't move the body. The cops are on their way. They will need to, you know, do what cops do. You worry too much. Everything is where it should be." He smiled again. "Have a good night." He began to walk away, the wheels squeaking under the weight of the body. When he was 1 meter from me, he remembered something important. He looked behind, raised his hand and said, "I will see you soon, Larry." Then in the darkness he disappeared around the corner. Like I just woke up from a dream, I looked down at my clothes, searching for my phone, planning to call the police and tell them a weird man was walking on the street with a dead body in a wheelbarrow. Just I saw the man's body in the same place as before. It had not moved 1 centimeter, arising out of a huge puddle of blood, shining under the pole light. He was definitely dead. But then, that man, I saw him raising the body and my thoughts were abruptly interrupted by a scream. A woman screaming. She, being smarter than I ever will be, ran away and called the cops. Me, on the other hand, I fled. From that day on, every time my doorbell rang, I thought policemen were coming to take me to jail, thinking I was the one to blame for the death of that poor man, but it never really happened. Nobody has ever looked for me to ask anything about the accident. So I thought they probably looked into the security tapes to find out who I was and ended up coming across what really happened that night. They saw it was an accident and didn't bother to chase me. Little by little I came back to my everyday, not exciting life, like nothing had happened that day. But there was one thing I couldn't forget. That man said, he said, "See you soon." Not later. Not one day. He said we would see ourselves again soon. And he knew my name. I never told him my name. I couldn't figure it out until now. This moment. Here I am, sitting on this bench, having a burger and a cold Coke when that music comes on the radio. Well, I assumed it was a radio and went asking the waitress to turn it off, and she said they have no radios or jukebox around here. She also said she could not hear anything and that I should do drugs somewhere else, suppose this is a decent establishment. And the lyrics, those lyrics, keep echoing in my head and I can't. What power art thou, who from below hast made me rise, unwillingly and slow, from beds of everlasting snow? It's almost midnight and they are about to close, but I am too afraid to get up and leave. My legs are weak and trembling, my hands are cold. From my peripheral vision I can see through the cafeteria front glass a man leaning on a wall on the other side of the street, wearing a familiar hat, holding what I believe is a mop.